from West Virginia Public Broadcasting.
Support for the following is provided by the West Virginia Department of Education and West Virginia Public Broadcasting. Hey! Hey everyone, it's Education Station!
Hi, and welcome back to Education Station. I'm your host, Alex Milanese. Education Station is a show where we invite teachers from all across West Virginia to submit videos of themselves teaching their favorite lessons. In today's episode, we're getting 3 exciting lessons about math, history, and writing. So we're going to kick things off today with Miss Lexi, who has a great review of area and perimeter. Let's check it out.
Hey everyone, today I'm going to go through and explain to you what perimeter and area mean and give you examples of how to find each of them. So to start, let's talk about what perimeter is. Perimeter is the distance around a shape. We usually use the formula P equals side plus side plus side plus side, where P is the perimeter. So what we want to think is, how much fencing would you need to go around a yard or a field? So we have an example here. And if we count the square or the square units around, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units across the top. So I'm going to put 6 units. And if I mark the side down the right-hand side, I would count 4 units. And if we want to count the other sides, we can, or we know with rectangles that opposite sides are equal. So I know that my bottom is 6 units, and my other side is also 4 units. So when I'm figuring out my perimeter of this rectangle, or the amount of fencing I would need to go around this yard or field, I would just add my 4 side lengths. So I would have my 6 plus my 6 plus 4 plus 4, and that's going to equal my perimeter. So if I work that out, I know my 6 plus 6 is 12, and 4 plus 4 is 8. So when I add those 2 units together, I would get 12 plus 8, which equals 20. And I would say 20 units. So I would find that the perimeter of this rectangle, P, equals 20 units. Okay? So now for area. Area is the measure of a number of unit squares needed to cover a surface. So we use the formula that A area equals base times height, or sometimes you may see area equals length times width. So if we see this rectangle, we want to know how much space is inside the fenced-in yard or field. So we have the same field or yard, and now we want to know how much space is inside. So we know that our base or our length across the top we found was 6 units. And our width or our height is 4 units. So the way we find area is to multiply these 2 measures. So if we do, our area equals our 6 times 4, we know by our basic facts that 6 times 4 is, think about it, 24, yes. So we say that the area is 24. Well, in this case, we have 24, not lengths, but 24 square units. And if we count the squares that are inside this rectangle, we would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. And that's what we found by multiplying. So we can count them all inside, or we can just use our multiplication facts. So now it's time to do a little bit of practice. The first example, we have a rectangle with a side of 5 feet and a side of 3 feet. This time we don't just have square units, we actually have a measurement. And when we have feet, we would refer to the perimeter having the measure of feet, but our area is going to be square feet. And as we move on, we're going to call that feet squared as well. So if I'm finding my perimeter, I'm going to do my side plus side plus side plus side. And in this case, I'm going to have 5 plus 3 are the two sides we know. And because, again, we know our rectangles have opposite sides equal, this bottom is 5 feet and our other side is 3 feet. So we're going to have 5 plus 3 plus 5 plus 3. And if we add that together, or we think of that as 2 times 5 plus our 3 times 2, or 2 times 3, because we know that with multiplication, we can have 2 times 5 or 5 times 2, and we can have 3 times 2 or 2 times 5, and we're going to get the same answer. So because we had 2 of the 5s and 2 of the 3s, we can just multiply each of those by 2 or add them together, and we would get 10 and 6. And now we want to add those two amounts together, and 10 plus 6 would give us 16. So we know that the perimeter of this rectangle is 16 feet. And I like to think about, if you're talking about perimeter, you want to start at any corner. And if you start walking around this shape, how much distance would you cover? So what would be the perimeter of that shape? What is the distance around that shape? And if we walked, we would walk 16 feet. Now, if we want to figure out the area, we want to do area is the length times width, or base times height. So we know that our length is 5 feet and our width is 3 feet. And it doesn't matter if you call the 3 feet the length or the 5 feet the length and vice versa. As long as you think of it as kind of like that L shape, and you're taking one of the sides that are the same and one of the other sides. Usually you're going to see this as base times height, or length times width, just so you're familiar with those terms. So now if we figure out our area, it's going to equal 5 times 3, which is 15. And for area, we say it's 15, and remember, it's how many squares are inside. And we know that each of the squares in this rectangle are 1 foot by 1 foot. So we have 15 square feet. You may also see this as feet squared, just so you're familiar with that. Now let's look at another example. If we have this rectangle, it says that the length is 6 meters and the width is 2 meters. We know, again, we can fill in our other sides as 2 meters and 6 meters because we know our properties of rectangles. So to find the perimeter, we're going to do 6 plus 6 plus 2 plus 2, because that's the distance we would walk if we walked all around the shape. And we would say that the perimeter equals 12 plus 4 to find that our final perimeter is 16. And again, that would be 16 meters. To find the area, we know it's length times width. So for area, we're going to have 6 times 2. And that is going to be area of 12. And we call that 12 square meters. All right, hope that helped you guys.
Thanks, Miss Lexi. Okay, next up, we're going to hear from Miss Perry, who has an awesome lesson about civilizations. Let's check it out.
Hi, everyone. I'm Miss Perry, and I teach 7th grade English Language Arts and Social Studies in Marion County, West Virginia. Today, we are going to be talking about what is a civilization, whether that's ancient Mesopotamia, ancient Greece, or even to the modern day civilizations. They all share common characteristics, and we're going to talk about what those characteristics are and what the definition of a civilization is. Let's get started. So first, before we even talk about what a civilization is, we have to do a little bit of a review about some terms that we may or may not be familiar with. So first off is, what is society? And I like to think of society as the people that live in a common place and share some common characteristics. So a society could be hunter and gatherers, but they're not an advanced civilization. They're just a group of people living together, sharing same characteristics like hunting and gathering. But in a modern day civilization, which is advanced, we also have society. We have people that do jobs and do lots of other things, okay? Now, society is the people. Culture is those people's beliefs. And so I like to think of it as what they do, what they believe, what they wear, what they eat. So it's their common knowledge, beliefs, and customs and values. And often that changes based on country lines. That often changes on different civilizations in ancient times as well. Now that we've reviewed society and culture, let's take a look at what the definition of a civilization is. So, a civilization develops when a society reaches an advanced social and cultural organization. What does that actually mean? And so I think to help us, I broke a civilization down into 6 different categories that I think helps explain how a society, a group of people, can be an advanced social and cultural organization. So let's take a look at those 6 categories. And when we look at these 6 categories, I'm not going to make you write them down. If you were in my class, I would. But I do want you to remember these 6 because we're going to take what we have learned and we're going to apply it to ancient Mesopotamia to see if we can piece together these different categories. But let's go over them first. So number 1 is economy. Many of the ancient civilizations started out with bartering and then developed into a monetary system. Today, we have an advanced economy with money, and often business takes place all over, but often in cities. And this also includes a division of labor, so different jobs. So it's not where a group of people are hunting and only a group of people are gathering, and then they do everything else for themselves. But instead, with this division of labor, you have some people now who are farming and some people who are building houses and some people who are making clothes. And so they're starting to become experts in a certain field or a certain area. And so you don't have everyone doing all of the work, but instead they're sharing that work. Number 2 is social hierarchy or a class system. The easiest way to think about it would be lower class, middle class, higher class, although I recognize that our society isn't broken down that easily or nicely today. It's a lot more complicated than that, but that's the easiest way that I can explain it to us. And in ancient times, their civilizations were not broken down in those ways either. They often were complex, just like ours are today. And we also have to acknowledge that many of the ancient civilizations had slavery as well. So that also became a part of that social hierarchy. Number 3 is a government system, and that includes laws as well. Number 4 is knowledge, which is a broad topic, but that includes education. So what they were teaching to the next generation, that includes art, that includes literature, that includes music. Number 5 is technology. And that technology can be crude, like a chariot, or that technology could be advanced like a car. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because it's older doesn't mean that it's a technological advancement, because it was a technological advancement before that time. And finally, number 6 are religious beliefs. And that includes monuments and that includes houses of worship. And it should be a defined set of beliefs with oftentimes a higher deity. Although between Eastern and Western cultures, that might be a little bit different. But there are still religious beliefs that are organized. Okay, so now that we've talked about these 6 different categories, let's see how we do. All right, so in our practice, I'm going to show you 6 different artifacts from ancient Mesopotamia. Each of the different artifacts corresponds to one of the 6 categories. They do not overlap. And so if you want to write down your guesses, you can, or if you have a really good memory, remember what you guessed, and you can change as you go along, of course. And then when we're all done looking at the 6, I'm going to show you what the correct answers are. All right, let's practice. Number 1 is this. Looks like a picture, 3 different levels. What do you think it is? Number 2, these 2 things. What do you think they are? Number 3, looks kind of like a building. Number 4, can you see? Get real close. There's definitely something in there. Number 5. Number 6. All right, go ahead and wrap up. Let's see how you did. Number 1 represents social hierarchy. This is called the Standard of Ur, and it does represent the different class systems, although it was a little bit more complex at the time, but you can see how they delineated their classes. So this bottom class would be laborers. See how they're working with animals. Most of them are farmers. And look at the middle class. Those are people that work with and deal with other people, like the merchants and the traders of the time. And then our upper class, you can see they have fancier clothes. They're even drawn higher than other people, okay? So this represents the social hierarchy of ancient Mesopotamia. Next is the economy. These are 2 ancient coins from Mesopotamia. While they did start as a barter economy, it did eventually evolve into a monetary system. Number 3 represents religion. This is a ziggurat, which is their house of worship. The ancient Mesopotamians were polytheistic, which meant they worshipped many different gods and goddesses. Often those gods and goddesses represented things that were important to them, so like the sun, rain, things that were very important, especially around farming, because food was very, very important to them at that time. It meant survival. And so this is the ziggurat. It's a very, very large building, and it often was the center of each town. And it was that important because religion was so important, because religion and appeasing the gods meant that they would be successful and that they could survive. And so that's the reason why it was in the center of each town. And if we go back really quickly to social hierarchy, the priests were often at the top of the social hierarchy as well, because that's how important religion was to the ancient Mesopotamians at that time. Number 4 represents knowledge. This is ancient cuneiform, or their writing, which is actually older than Egyptian hieroglyphics, but they aren't the same. Okay, they're pictographs and they look a little bit different. But this is the oldest form of writing that started in ancient Mesopotamia. Number 5 is the wheel, and it represents technology. And the wheel was designed in ancient Mesopotamia in 3500 BC. And then finally, number 6 represents the government. And this is Hammurabi, an emperor at that time, and he wrote a set of laws called Hammurabi's Code, which is one of the oldest set of laws in the entire world. And so we can see, based on these different categories, that while ancient Mesopotamia was old, it certainly was a civilization and was advanced for its time. Thank you so much for learning with me today, and I hope that you enjoyed this presentation. Thanks.
Thanks, Ms. Perry. All right, now our final stop today is going to be with Mr. Skora, who's going to show us how to use our writing skills to show kindness to others. Let's check it out.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for tuning in today. I wanted to take the time for a teachable moment. And the first full week of May is Teacher Appreciation Week. And we all know that this school year has been a very unusual one with the COVID-19 pandemic and the closing of our physical buildings for school. But we also know that our teachers have gone above and beyond to work to help you to make sure that you're learning during this school closure time. So I wanted to talk today a little bit about that. But I also wanted to say that this year we have some very different teachers as well. Maybe they're not the teachers who are certified in working in the actual school buildings, but this year for Teacher Appreciation Week, you have some different teachers at home, maybe mom or dad, or grandpa or grandma, or your tutor, or whoever may be helping you get your schoolwork done while schools are closed. So think about that as we go into the first week of May, and with it being Teacher Appreciation Week. And it's very fitting that the first week of May is Teacher Appreciation Week. And the lesson that I usually like to talk about this time of year with my students is the importance of writing a thank you card or a thank you note. I feel that it's extremely classy and tasteful to do this, and I think it's really important that we do it. It does not have to be for a large gift that you write a thank you note. It can be for a simple display of kindness in any way. And people think that thank you cards or thank you notes have to be written only if you get a very large gift, and that's not true. A thank you card is written to show our gratitude for any kind of kindness that we received. It could be for a gift, it could be for a service. When we write a thank you note or card and give it to a recipient, we are showing how grateful we are for that gift or service. It's an expression of our appreciation for that service, that thought, or that gift. It makes others feel good to receive the thank you card, and hopefully it makes them more prone to continue to do good deeds. And I think it also makes the writer of the thank you card feel good to say thank you for what you've received. And Mr. Scora always is big on thank you cards, or notes. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today, and I encourage you to write one this week and give it to anyone during Teacher Appreciation Week, or just, it doesn't have to be a teacher. So when you write a thank you card or note, you should always start at the top by putting the date that you're writing. You can write the year or you can write the month, day, and year. It's up to you. I always recommend that you do this because the recipient of the card will most likely keep the card if it's meaningful to him or her, and then they will be able to go back and remember that time when they had that special gesture between the two of you. So that's what you can put at the top of your note or your card. And then from there, you should start with a greeting. And of course, as we know from writing, greetings should be something like Dear Mom, or Hello, Aunt Linda, or Good afternoon, Grandma. Anything like that would be your greeting. So let's say we use Dear Mom, okay? After you include your greeting, you should always mention the gift or service and how appreciative you are to have received it. So let's say we say, Dear Mom, thank you so much for my birthday dinner. It was delicious, and I really appreciated your kindness. After you mention the gift or service and your appreciation, mention a specific detail. So you could say, The meatloaf was absolutely wonderful and is my favorite. It means a lot to me that you took the time to make my favorite meal. So that's something personal and or a specific detail. Then you can add a little bit of a personal note. Mom, thank you so much for always ensuring that my birthday is a special day and going out of your way to make me feel special. That would be a personal note. And after that, you just have a closing. Sincerely, with love, thank you, and then sign your name. So your closing is just thank you, sincerely, with love, and your signature at the bottom, of course. Okay? So the importance of the thank you note is just to make sure that you are allowing the person to know that whatever they had done for you is appreciated. And a lot of people think that thank you cards have to be given only if it's a large item, like if you have a wedding and you receive lots of gifts, or if you have a major event. That's not true. This time of year, you could write a note to your teachers who helped you throughout the year. You could write a note to your bus driver. You could write a note to someone special who just may have talked to you on a day where you had a difficult time. So thank you notes are simply that. And I know that a lot of times you think that writing is a book report or a paper, and that's not. This is practical writing. A thank you note is practical writing that allows you to express your feelings and help make someone else's day. Also, if you're going to thank someone for a donation or a gift of money, you don't have to say how much they gave you in the note. You can simply say, thank you so much for your generosity. It was greatly appreciated. It's not custom to say, thank you so much for the $50. You can just say, thank you so much for your generosity. It was greatly appreciated. And then you might want to say, I will use it for, and fill in the blank. Very easy. Now, I received this t-shirt from my friend Kim as we've been teaching from home and learning from home. She got me this shirt. It's I will teach you in a room. I will teach you now on Zoom. It's really cute. So I wanted to make sure that I said thank you to her for thinking of me. So I said, Dear Kim, thank you so much for the awesome t-shirt. It is really cool and reminds me of how important my students are to me. Your gift really means a lot. I look forward to having lunch with you soon. Thank you for your thoughtfulness. And then I signed it. So it's a simple way to express your thanks, and it lets her know that her very kind gesture means a lot to me. So take some time, think about who you want to thank, sit down and write a thank you note. You'll feel better, and so will the recipient. Have a great day.
Thanks, Mr. Skora. All right, well, that wraps up everything for us here today on Education Station. We want to thank all of the teachers who submitted their awesome lessons. And we want to thank you for watching. We'll see you next time right here on Education Station.